Good morning, guys. It is Ben here from Bunbury Boot Camp, and we're ready for this is an early morning session for me. It's about 4:35 a.m. and well, I'm quite excited. This is when I normally start my day, and I thought this is a good time to start doing these programs so they're fresh when they hit you. To start with our warm up, it's two Jane Fondas, which we know that's from the bridge position. For the people that are new, it's from the bridge position. So you line your back with your hips up, and you move your hips up and down, also known as a thrust. Just two of those. A 5-second hover, also known as the plank, and then 10 steps on the spot. And then a 5-second Superman. That's where you lie flat on your front with your arms and legs off the ground. So before we start all of this, just make sure that we're feeling good, we feel healthy. As we say every session, are we feeling strong? Are our injuries feeling okay? If we have injuries, is everything functioning? Assuming that's the case, we run through the exercises nice and gently, nice and slow in the first couple of rounds to see how they feel. Jane Fondas are pretty good. They generally don't hurt anyone. Hover, you put some pressure on the back. Superman, put some pressure on the back. So any pain in your back, stop. And if pain comes in your back on these short holds, it's probably a sign that they're not going to work for you for the workout. So get into here nice and smooth, nice and slowly, and just build up as you go through this. Now, how many rounds? That's a great question. I like 5 minutes of rounds for a warm-up. I think a warm-up needs to be good 5 minutes, if not longer. This one, it's a nice little drill, so I would push this for 10 if you have the time in your program. It's quite fun. But this point is where you pause the video, run through the workout, and I'll be right back in a second. And we have phase 2. 10 steps on the spot or forwards, 1 push-up, 10 steps on the spot or forwards, 1 sumo squat. Now, sumo squat, for those that don't know, is when your feet are out wide, much wider than usual, toes turned out. Not so wide that you can't balance, and not so wide that you think your adductors are being torn out, but nice and wide. So 10 and 1, 10 and 1, then 10 and 2, 10 and 2, 10 and 3, 10 and 3, 10 and 4, 10 and 4, 10 and 5, 10 and 5, and 10 and 6, 10 and 6. Now, I want you to stop at the 10 and 6. If you want to do it again, do it again. You have time to do it again. For 2 to 5 rounds. So those endurance athletes out there, 5 rounds would be great for you. Those of you newer to this whole thing, 2 rounds would still be a very good workout. Obviously, with all these things, modify as needed to get around injuries and fitness levels. So push-ups can be done from the knees. If sumo squats for some reason are no good for the hips, go with normal squats. Move through it nice and smooth, nice and fast in terms of the steps. Really got quite aggressive with those because now we're warmed up. We can hit that quite hard. So enjoy this. Breathe through all your movements and pause that video, and we'll move on to phase 3 when you're done. Phase 3, which is the following. $20 or 40 flutter kicks, 10 sit-ups, hovering for 30 or 60 seconds, and a 100-step sprint. Now, flutter kicks, lie flat on your back, hands under the thickest part of your butt, legs up away from you on about between a sort of, 20 to 60 degree angle from the ground, and then move them like they're just fluttering, just like that. Some people could also call it a vertical scissor kick. So that works good. That works well too. Google those things if you need to, or ask me if you're not sure. Now, flutter kicks do put a lot of pressure on the lower back. If cycling is better, where cycling is where you actually cycle your legs, you don't keep them straight, then go for your life. And again, modify as needed. If having your legs off the ground is no good, I would switch this out for Jane Fondas, same numbers. So sit-ups we know, hovering or planking, 30 or 60, 30 seconds or 60 seconds, and then a 100-step sprint. Now, obviously these drills are designed so you can do them on the spot, and that's great. But if you can get outside and do this and use that as a bit of a distance run, that'd be a wonderful thing. Great to get some distance in the legs. And max rounds. So there's no limit here. In itself, that's going to take roughly a 2-minute round. So if you allow, again, 10 minutes, 5 rounds, it's a fantastic way to go. If you've got more time, take more time with it. At this point is a good time to pause the video. I'm going to quickly tell you about where zombies come from. And then, you can certainly pause or fast forward this section, but it's worth knowing. So you've probably heard of zombies, and zombies are pretty interesting. But whether the actual story comes from, so I don't think anyone really believes that the reanimated dead. Apparently some Muslim that Jeffrey Dahmer tried something, but we're not going into that. He was quite an awful person. But scurvy. So if you've heard of scurvy, scurvy is a condition whereby a person has completely run out of vitamin C. Vitamin C is essential for human survival. It takes a long time to wear down, but it used to happen a lot in sailors before they figured out ways to transport sources of vitamin C, which were sauerkraut and lime juice in the end. Hence, British being called limeys because of the drink they used to drink. And Captain Cook actually got to Australia using sauerkraut. He didn't lose any men to scurvy. But before that, I think there was one trip Marco Polo lost like 200 men to scurvy. Anyway, in advanced scurvy, when you're towards the end of the whole thing, all your collagen goes away. Collagen is supported by vitamin C, which means your ribs are no longer kept separate from each other and they rattle inside you, and you suffer significant cognitive impairment because you're in quite a bit of pain, and all your old wounds reopen because they're actually actively held closed. If you imagine that as an individual, that's going to look a lot like a zombie. Anyway, good time to pause or fast forward, and we'll go on to phase 4. A squat hold for 30 or 60, pin squats for 20, and sumo Jane Fondas for 20, cycling for 40. So might be a couple of new things in there for people. So a squat hold, you squat and you hold 30 or 60 seconds. This is renowned for being very difficult and renowned for being done not that well. Ideally, I'd like you down so your legs, your knees are at a 45-degree angle and they aren't folded forward at all your weight's in your heels. However, I know realistically that's not for everyone. If you can get halfway down and hold yourself there, that's great. As long as it's hurting, as long as you're trying, it's really good. Pin squats. Pin squats are where you squat standing upright. You squat down with your feet next to each other, like that. Great exercise. Not always possible for men to do for logistical reasons, but for women, and most of my clients are women, this is quite useful. It's a good exercise for sort of strengthening. Primarily focus would be the vastus lateralis because you brought them in, which is great. But yes, get your feet together, kind of get the knees together, thighs together if you can, and then bring your butt back and squat down. Sumo Jane Fondas are kind of the opposite of that. They're Jane Fondas, which we know, but with your feet wide apart. And don't necessarily need to turn your toes out on this one, but it's a good way to go to keep the knees in a nice, safe line, and then cycling for 40. So quite the core drill with the pin squats thrown in there. This one I'd like for 5 rounds. I think it's a good one for 5 rounds. There's nothing in here that's too repetitive. But keep an eye on the pin squats in your lower back and make sure you're feeling strong the whole way through. Alrighty, now it's time to hit that pause button and we'll come up with what comes next, which is, we probably know by now, meditate. I strongly recommend you do it 1 to 2 minutes of meditation at the end of your workout, just a little bit to bring yourself into a nice centered space. As they say, I'm not really sure what that means, but it sounds useful. We have a meditation video on our YouTube channel. You're welcome to use that. I recommend that. But there's a million other YouTube options, along with meditation options in the world. So look around, pick something that works for you. But take your time to do 1 or 2 minutes of this. You've got through this workout. You're going to stretch. Just do 1 or 2 minutes of this and then go from there. And finally, last and ultimately, stretch. Use a stretch routine that you like, stretch all major muscle groups. Something yoga-esque would be fantastic, something that really gets to your core would be fantastic. Take your time with it, breathe through it, and don't work the ranges too much. Make sure you're keeping it in a safe range. That's that workout done for the day. I hope it was wonderful, and I hope your Thursday, this is made on a Thursday. Thursday is exceptional, but whatever day you do this on, I hope it goes well. And I hope if you're doing this down the track in the future, that the COVID thing's all over and we don't have to worry about it anymore. Fingers crossed, it'd be nice. Anyway, guys, have a lovely day. Be safe, be happy. I'll see you soon.